definition of Antifa that I found?
Please.
Yeah.
Okay. And people may or may not agree with this, but the definition I found is that it's short for militant anti-fascists, middle class, champagne socialist, communist, anarchist, white boys who don't like nationalists or fascists. They consider themselves to be rebelling against the establishment while upholding all of its ultra-politically correct views.
That's a very interesting definition. Anyone who looks objectively, and that's challenging, of course, for all of us to look objectively at anything. Anyone who looks at Antifa objectively knows that they are the embodiment of the Nazi movement.
Okay.
As it was practiced in the late 40s or the mid 40s,
Well, tell us
late
about
30s and the 40s.
Tell us about that, the roots of Nazism.
Well, I know a bit about the roots of Nazism, and I know that for certain that as a result of the inflation that was going on in Germany after the First World War and the breakdown in German society after the First World War, that there was people were looking around for some answers.
They were lost.
They felt very disempowered as a society as a result of the Treaty of Versailles, and they were looking for someone, and someone very powerful stepped up and did not use a political process to secure their power, and I'm talking about Hitler now. And the process that he used was fear and intimidation with the brown shirts.
Right.
And so people just acquiesced, and they let him begin to move in and take over, and there's a whole lot more to the story.
So the brown shirts are now black shirts.
So yeah, when I see Antifa,
Became election. That's right.
when I see Antifa, I see a real good correlation with those brown shirts.
There
A
is
lot,
a very
a lot of the techniques that they're using.
They're the same techniques that Hitler used.
Yeah.
The Antifa's techniques, if anyone wants to take the time to really study what happened in Germany in the mid-30s, they will see exactly what Antifa's tactics are now, particularly the brown shirts tactics were.
So are we worried that a strong leader may emerge from within this movement?
I'm not.
Okay. Yeah.
I'm not either, but
I guess-
I'm a little bit worried about the breakdown of society that I see happening.
Right.
Maybe more than a little bit. I'm worried about the breakdown of law and order
I am too.
and the inability to speak on America's campuses, which
Right.
is supposed to be a place to express varying ideas. And I've never been nuts about some of the ideas that are being put forth on our campuses, but to not let people
To not let them do it.
to not let people come and speak and to break out windows and act like children is, I think, a real.
Well,
Back to your idea of selling the idea. If we're not allowed to even have the opportunity to sell the idea,
it's tantalizing.
People don't have to come.
No, of course not. But it's it is almost inconceivable that Berkeley canceled Free Speech Week this year.
Right.
Canceled it.
Berkeley of all places.
Berkeley.
Isn't that interesting? I mean, it's
They
just
canceled
amazing.
free speech.
Yeah.
It seems
Out
like-
of fear
aren't they the
and
bastion?
politics
Aren't they
like
the
that.
bastion? Of
No, the
free
fear of
speech?
the kids who are going to demonstrate.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
That's what
Social unrest.
they say, and that's part
Out
of
of
it.
fear of the brown shirts. I mean, I don't mean to overly dramatize this, but that's really what we're talking about.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So if I want to stand alongside the road and say, I believe the government is fascist, and I protest against it, is that okay?
Yes, it is.
Perfectly fine.
If I take that sign and step out in traffic and block your car, is that okay?
No.
I don't think that's okay.
So that's where we cross the line.
That's where you cross the
So
line.
you have the right to stand there all day long in a peaceable way and extol your viewpoint and try to convince people that you're right
Yeah,
until you cross that line.
I think that's right.
Yeah.
And as we know, we had that line crossed right here in Portland,
Yeah.
where our federal highways were being blocked by demonstrators and making people turn around and go back.
Right. People are trying.
Because they didn't
they're
like-
trying to feed their families. They're trying to get home to their families. They're trying to get on with their
Trying to
lives.
deliver groceries to grocery stores
Right.
or
And create
pizzas
jobs.
to people's houses, whatever.
Or do their job.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean it's simply a matter of law. You're not allowed to stand in front of a freeway.
I'd
It's
say
against the
it's a
law.
matter of, yeah.
Well, it's safety.
And you're endangering everybody.
Yeah.
as soon as you do that. But if you stand on the sidewalk, you can do it all day long.
All day long. I mean, do you need a permit?
I don't know if you do for one person.
I don't think you
need a permit.
No, I think if you're going to block the road, you need a permit.
Absolutely.
If you're in a parade, you got to get a permit.
You gotta get a
If you're
permit.
going to have a big group, you got to get a permit.
Right.
You're supposed to get a permit.
Right,
I
supposed to
think
get a
we've had
permit.
quite a number of demonstrations in Portland without
Well, I
permit.
think as long as you're peaceable, no one's going to complain about your
They
demonstration.
probably wouldn't even complain without a permit, but you're supposed to if you have.
Well,
large
because it's in the interest of public safety and convenience and all of those things that make us a good society is having compassion for others if I'm going to have a big event.
I can say this, that I really believe that, and I've been working very hard on this myself, and to have more perspective, we do need to study history a little more.
Right.
We do need to understand these dark forces that have come at many, many times in history, and often carrying a banner of what's going to be better for you.
Mm-hmm.
And those what's
But oftentimes
Doesn't
they take
become-
advantage of people have, if they're in desperate straits for whatever reason, economically, socially,
or if they're
emotionally,
idealists.
if
If they have-
if they're idealists, then it seems that it's like a virus. It's ripe to
Yeah,
spread.
yeah.
And I don't know if we're quite to that point here in this country, but there certainly seems to be a faction of people who are disillusioned.
Yeah, and you know I think the context, the issue is historical context and a worldly context. It's both, and what's happening with groups and people and things that have this idea that things must be changed in a way that merits violence. Must be that there's
Right.
I have every excuse to do
Yep.
anything it takes because things are
Because it's
so
so
bad.
bad.
Right.
This is so awful, and America's so evil,
Right.
and the people are so evil that I have the right, and I'm a victim.
And no one's listening to me.
Oh, and don't forget the victim part.
and I'm a victim.
Victim.
I've been
Right, I'm a
victimized,
victim, yeah.
so you owe me, and I got to give me. That whole consciousness is created from a lack of perspective, a lack of historical perspective, a lack of worldly perspective and understanding and view. And like this definition says, middle class champagne socialist.
Communist anarchist.
You know what they didn't include was the age. They're in their 20s.
Yes.
And
Right.
and that's the piece I'm getting at.
Mhm.
They don't have much life experience.
No,
They
right,
don't understand
right,
things, and also we have discredited them by our educational system
Mm.
and by whatever they've been told to get to this place. Now, let me say again, forever and ever, there will. I don't want to say never. I'm going to say most likely there will never be a perfect society.
I agree.
Most likely, is at least in this expression of our.
Because we're human beings and we're imperfect.
We're imperfect.
So the perfect society might be in the Matrix. A robot
I don't know how to
mechanical
get there,
society.
by the way.
But I don't know if we would agree that would be the best place for humans.
Right, exactly. So my point is, we're humans, we are flawed, therefore we will create societies that are imperfect.
Yeah, sure.
There will never be, potentially never ever be a perfect society.
I don't want utopia.
Well, then we get into that question of who gets to decide what a perfect society is, right? Because, and this brings us back to our last show, where I said to you, we've got things backwards, where we have a world that thinks it's good that you didn't have to work as a child. Oh, that's good. I'm glad my child didn't have to work. But maybe that's the wrong view. Maybe it's actually really, really good.
I'm disappointed my child didn't
have the opportunity to work.
Yes.
That's right, and build character and soul. So anyway, that brings me back to my point that we'll probably never have a perfect society, and we want to forever work toward it. And how do we work toward it? How we create that is through free speech.
I'm convinced
It's through
that
free
It
speech.
is just a crucial component that people have the opportunity to express their views.
And
Whatever
lay it
they
out
have to
there,
do.
and 99 of them might be awful, but
Yeah.
one might be really good,
Well, we know that
Right.
right? And
Yes.
we'll never hear it if we're not allowed to speak.
we're talking about a liberal society, and I mean that in the classic definition of the term,
sure.
meaning a free society where ideas pop up here, there, and everywhere. And out of that comes a kind of creativity. And out of that creativity comes a kind of advancement, a kind of progress that we'll never, ever, ever experience if we shut it down. And the way
Sounds like
we
you're
shut
talking. Sounds like you're talking about free speech.
I am. That's what I'm talking about.
So we'll never have a perfect society. And to finish that point, what I was kind of getting at is just back to this country and all those who are creating like Antifa or feel that way and the victimization. It's not to ever say. The last thing I would ever want to do is create a situation where we're not allowed to be critical.
Of course.
We want to be extremely critical to continue. That's
Absolutely.
the only way we can get better.
Absolutely.
And that's why free speech is so important.
Yes.
And that's why we need to be able to say all of our ideas and everything. And so this country, it goes under the umbrella of every country. We'll never be perfect. But we have an opportunity to say things and to express our opinions and to work in that way to create a better world, a better country, which creates a better world. If we shut that down through violence, then it can only, I think, it can only spiral into a worser, into a more fascist instead of less fascist world. And
Absolutely.
But how does Antifa work without violence?
easy.
Okay.
Antifa can, even though they're, in my opinion,
Dialogue and debate.
through dialogue and debate, and they can go out and
Sell their idea.
absolutely, they can with signs and stand and get a permit and walk around, or not get a permit if there's not a.
They do have to move away from selling ideas. They need to be ideas and not feelings.
Okay.
That there needs to
Like
be
what
some
do you stand for?
intellectual.
Please.
Yeah, there's
please,
some.
Yeah.
Yeah. What is your intellectual component here? What is it? Absolutely, John. What's the systems or the methods or the structure that you represent and that you stand for, and how do you see that as better than whatever it is you're against?
Right. Sell me. I might become a supporter. I'm not going to become a supporter if you're holding a club or mace.
No.
But if you're not holding a club or mace, I might at least listen to you,
Okay.
and I'm allowed to form my own ideas. I can walk away, or I can come join,
Right.
but it shouldn't be coerced.
Intimidation is what they seem to be using now.
Right. I don't know when that became okay.
So, what I would say is for all of us to look into our lives and what we're doing and ask the question. There's a few of them that are coming to my mind right now, but one of them is, where am I standing for things that are actually against what I'm trying to create? Because I think we all do that in different ways, and it feels like,
Sure.
right?
Yes, absolutely.
Even health stands in that. I stand for health, but I'm eating this donut every day. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Where am I standing for something but not doing it?
These are so bad.
Exactly. Antifa is this fascist thing. And one time, John, you and I were talking. I'm just reminded of this conversation we had about Antifa one time, and I heard a statistic that I don't remember the exact amount, but what I do remember, it's less than 1%. So the amount of true fascists and white supremacists,
Oh,
and
white
these people,
supremacists,
yeah,
yes.
like white supremacists
Yes,
and
right,
stuff.
right.
The number of people who are actually signed up to be these things is less than 1%. It's 0 point. So what's happening? Let me say.
Yeah.
So what was humorous about our conversation before is that you have this group called Antifa,
Right.
and they're anti-fascist,
Right.
and so what they're doing, and anyone like that is running around screaming about something that doesn't really exist, and so that's
The
not
sky is falling.
the sky is falling,
Yeah.
and it's like going into being a member of something that's anti-fascist in this country that is 0 point something that are true fascists.
Yeah.
Is like going into a home that's beautiful and is immaculate and is wonderful and everything you'd ever want in a home. But there's a speck of dust somewhere on the carpet, and you're going, look at that speck of
That
dust.
carpet must go.
This whole home, this entire house,
Burn it down.
Burn it down.
Burn it down.
Destroy the home, knock the foundation, kill it, because there is a speck of dust. And that's basically what I believe Antifa's doing.
That's a good
There's
analogy.
such a small little speck of people in this country who actually hold those point of view, that they're running around,
points of view.
those hateful point of views, that they're running around yelling at people who are actually good people and are wonderful and doing things and just trying to express their ideas. They're yelling at that speck instead of looking at the beautiful home.
I have a good personal example. So when I think of white supremacy, I oftentimes think of Northern Idaho.
Sure.
And so I was in Northern Idaho. We were at Silverwood Amusement Park, north of Coeur d'Alene. And there were black people there, and Hispanics, and Indians, and white people, and they were all getting along.
No
We
kidding.
were all having a great time.
Right
What?
here in Northern
Yeah,
Idaho.
right here in Northern Idaho.
It can't be.
I know.
No, the world's full of fascists and
Right,
hateful white
yeah.
supremacists and
Especially
bad
in Northern
racists, and especially in Northern Idaho.
Oh man. So yeah.
That's
stereotyping.
yeah, that's the thing too that I find startling. Is there's a whole lot of dissent and cynicalness, and if you take a deep breath and step back and go to Northern Idaho,
Right?
or just down the street
Pioneer Square.
and just observe when Antifa's not there, right? Observe what's going on.
Yeah.
You get more of a realistic point of view of hey, maybe it's not as bad
Yes.
as the mainstream media wants us to believe. Is it possible that mainstream media wants to create dissension?
Yes.
Is it possible that mainstream media feeds off of anger and hatred and conflict because they get greater ratings? That
Is-
anger and fear
is there
create
an agenda?
ratings? Is it
Right.
possible that there's an agenda to actually, even if they're not conscious of it because of the groupthink, is it possible that they're actually part of a system, a groupthink system, that wants to stir things up, create anger and hatred and division in this country because they get greater ratings? I don't know, maybe.
Well, we also know
Maybe.
there's also a copycat effect. So when I show something on the news and it gets a great deal of attention, then other people get the idea that they want to do the thing that was shown.
Some of that happens.
Yeah, and so I think you're correct. And to a large
It's a
extent,
groupthink,
the
yeah.
media is responsible, oftentimes, for sowing this dissent and creating something
Oh
where
my
maybe
God.
it wouldn't exist without the attention that was given to it.
Absolutely.
Somehow, if we can move out of our addiction to drama,
Mm.
which is
Right.
really being played out in a big way in what we're talking about.
So let's be true anti-fascists.
Okay.
I'm for it.
Let's be true anti-fascists and continue to stand up for people and ideas that we disagree with,
Right.
so that
Right.
that person who we may disagree with is allowed to speak and allowed to say what they think, so that we might have an aha moment.
Might change our
That's-
mind.
It might change our minds.
That's a true definition of Antifa.
It is, and we can embody that in our personal lives
Yes, we can.
by beginning more and more to listen to people and their ideas before speaking,
Listening.
to listen and allow them to speak, so that we might have an aha moment, so that we might actually begin to have an evolution in our own conscious, our own way of thinking. It's a very complicated world that we live in, and I think the only way we can improve, as we already said, is to allow the commerce of free speech to occur, so that the good ones can rise to the top and the bad ones can disappear and go away. Otherwise, we will get dissension. We will have conflict. So until next time, let's be true anti-fascists. We'll see you later.
Correct.